What if I told you that the one ingredient every winter angler swears by is actually the reason you're not catching fish? It sounds crazy, I know. Today, we're talking about bloodworms. Specifically, the common practice of mixing them directly into your ground bait for winter fishing. And I'm going to show you why this can't-fail tactic might be the biggest mistake you're making on the ice. There's a simple biological reason why this backfires, and it explains why some days the fish just won't commit to your bait no matter what you do. Before we even start, let me know in the comments, is adding bloodworms to your ground bait a sacred rule for you? Let's see if I can change your mind by the end of this video. For decades, the logic has been simple and seemingly unbreakable. Fish in cold water are slow, their metabolism has bottomed out, and they need a very strong incentive to eat. So what could possibly be a stronger incentive than a ball of delicious-smelling ground bait packed with their absolute favorite food, live bloodworms? Every fishing magazine you've ever read, every old-timer at the lake, every bait shop owner has told us the same thing. You get your favorite winter mix, you add a generous handful of bloodworms, you form a ball, and you drop it down the hole. It's become the gospel of winter fishing. We do it because it's what we were taught. We do it because, let's be honest, sometimes it seems to work, which reinforces the belief, but we rarely stop to ask the most important question: what is really happening down there in the cold and dark under the ice when that bait ball actually breaks apart on the bottom? Let's start with the basic premise of ground bait. Its primary job isn't to feed the fish. This is the first mental hurdle we have to clear. The job of ground bait is to attract fish into your swim and hold them there, creating competition. You want them excited, agitated, and looking for a meal. You want to create a scent trail and a cloud of particles that draws them in from a distance. The actual feeding should be done by one thing, and one thing only: your hook bait. When you dump a massive amount of food into the water, you are no longer just attracting the fish, you are feeding them. And as we're about to see, in winter, this is a recipe for disaster. You're giving them everything they want right away, and it completely removes their incentive to find your tiny, single offering on the hook. To understand why this is such a problem, we have to think like a fish in winter. Their world has slowed down dramatically. The water is ice cold, sometimes just a degree or two above freezing. A fish's metabolism is directly tied to the water temperature. This means their digestive system slows to a crawl. They do not need to eat much to survive. A few bloodworms or other small invertebrates can sustain a roach or a perch for a very long time. They are not the aggressive eating machines they are in the summer. They are opportunistic, energy-conserving survivors. When you introduce a huge pile of food, you are presenting a meal that is far larger than what they actually need or are even capable of processing efficiently. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the fish's biological state during the coldest months of the year. This leads us to the cardinal sin of winter fishing: overfeeding. By mixing a large quantity of live bloodworms into your initial baiting, you are very likely overfeeding the spot before you even make your first cast. Imagine a person who isn't very hungry. You want them to eat a specific appetizer you've prepared. So what do? Do you place that one appetizer in front of them, or do you roll out a massive all-you-can-eat buffet right next to it? Of course, you offer the single appetizer. By adding bloodworms to the ground bait, you are rolling out the buffet. The fish arrive, they might eat a few of the free offerings, and then they're done. They are satisfied. Their small energy requirement for the day has been met. And now your hook bait is just one more item in a pile of food that they no longer have any interest in. Let's stick with that buffet analogy because it's perfect. Your ground bait is the sign on the highway that says, "Free buffet ahead." It gets the fish to pull over and check out your spot. Your hook bait is the single, perfectly presented, high-value item on that buffet that you want them to eat. But when you mix hundreds of live bloodworms into the ground bait, you are not creating a buffet with one special item. You are creating a buffet where every single item is a delicious prime rib dinner. Your hook bait, which is also a prime rib dinner, is now indistinguishable from the other 100 prime rib dinners scattered all over the floor. You have created your own worst competition. The fish has no reason to choose your specific offering when there are countless identical and easier options all around it. Your hook is no longer special. Now let's move on to the most critical piece of this puzzle. It's the one detail that completely unravels the entire theory of mixing live bloodworms into your ground bait. It's so simple, yet almost everyone overlooks it. What is the absolute first thing a live bloodworm does when it touches any kind of natural substrate? It burrows. It is a fundamental, hardwired survival instinct. These creatures are not designed to just lay out in the open waiting to become a meal. Their entire existence is about finding safety in the mud, silt, and debris. So when you mix them into your ground bait, you are essentially creating a delivery system for them to reach the bottom safely. You think you're delivering a feast, but you are actually just helping them hide. It's a bait delivery system that self-destructs on impact. Picture this scene in your mind. You're sitting on your bucket, it's quiet, and the cold is biting at your nose. You drop that carefully prepared bait ball down the hole. You watch your sonar, or just wait in anticipation. The ball hits the bottom with a soft thud and begins to break apart, releasing a cloud of scent and particles, and out come hundreds of live, wriggling bloodworms. You're thinking, dinner is served, but what's really happening? A frantic, desperate escape. Within seconds, those bloodworms are using every ounce of their energy to dig. They are corkscrewing into the soft silt, wriggling under dead leaves, and disappearing into the tiniest cracks and crevices on the bottom. They are not waiting for the fish. They are actively and effectively hiding from them. So what is the result of this great escape? You have successfully transported a large quantity of bloodworms to the bottom, but you haven't successfully presented them as food. Within a minute or two, almost every single one of those live worms is now inaccessible to the fish. They are buried in the substrate. However, they are still very much alive. This means they are still giving off scent and amino acids, the very signals that tell a fish food is here. You have created a powerful scent field that screams bloodworms, but you have removed the actual food source from the equation. You have created a ghost feed. The smell is there, but the meal is gone. It's the ultimate tease for a fish. It's like smelling a barbecue from next door, but not being able to find the grill. Now the fish start to arrive. They've followed the scent trail from your ground bait cloud and the powerful attractant of the bloodworms. They are keyed up and ready to eat. They get to the area and their senses are overwhelmed with the smell of their favorite food. They expect to find an easy meal, a carpet of wriggling worms, but what do they find instead? Nothing. The food has vanished into the bottom, the table has been cleared, but the smell of the feast lingers in the air. This is where the real problem begins. You've attracted the fish, but you've also instantly frustrated them. They swim around the area, agitated, trying to locate the source of this incredibly strong smell. This leads to a very specific and frustrating behavior that many winter anglers have seen but not understood. You'll see fish on your flasher or camera swimming right through your swim. They might even nose the bottom, pecking and stirring up the silt. They are actively searching for the buried bloodworms. They are trying to dig them out. They are so preoccupied with finding the hundreds of ghost bloodworms they can smell that they completely ignore the one perfectly presented bloodworm you have sitting on your hook. Your hook bait has become invisible, drowned out by the overwhelming sensory noise of the food they can't have. You've brought them to the party, but you've given them a puzzle they can't solve, and they're too busy with the puzzle to notice you. Let's think about the competition you've created. Your tiny hook, maybe a size 18 or 20, with 1 or 2 bloodworms on it, is now competing with the scent signature of, let's say, 500 bloodworms that are buried just out of sight. The fish's attention is scattered, it's not focused. A fish might swim right past your hook, inches away, because it's trying to home in on a stronger pocket of scent coming from a cluster of worms buried in the mud 3 inches to the left. You are making the fish work much, much harder than they need to, and in winter, fish do not want to work hard. They want the easiest possible meal. By burying the food, you have removed the easy part of the equation entirely and made your hook bait statistically irrelevant. This explains so many of those classic, head-scratching winter fishing scenarios. It explains the phantom bites, where your float just barely dips or wiggles, but you never get a solid take. That's likely a fish bumping your line as it searches the bottom. It explains why you can see a screen full of fish on your sonar, but you can't get a single one to bite. They are there, they are active, but they are focused on the wrong target, a target that you inadvertently created for them. You've essentially trained them to ignore your hook. It is the ultimate form of self-sabotage on the ice, and it's practiced by millions of anglers every single winter without them ever realizing the damage they are doing to their own chances. So now that we've established the problem, what is the solution? Does this mean you should never use bloodworms in the winter? Absolutely not. Bloodworms are still, without a doubt, one of the most effective winter baits in existence. The issue is not what you are using, but how you are using it. The key is to shift your mindset from feeding the swim to triggering a response. You need to use the power of the bloodworm to attract and excite without providing a competing food source. The goal is to make your hook bait the one and only meal on the table. This requires a much more precise and thoughtful approach than just dumping them into a mix and hoping for the best. Here is the first and perhaps most effective alternative strategy. Instead of mixing live bloodworms into your ground bait, use their scent and attraction, but not their physical bodies. You can do this by using bloodworm juice or liquid extract. Many bait companies sell this, or you can make your own. Simply take a small amount of your bloodworms, mash them up, and mix that liquid essence into your ground bait. Now, your ground bait has that same powerful, irresistible scent that draws fish in. It will create that same attractive cloud in the water. But when the fish arrive hot and bothered, what do they find? No food, just the smell of food. And what's the only actual edible thing in the entire area? Your hook bait. You've created desire without satisfaction. The second strategy is all about control and timing. It's the principle of little and often. Instead of one big initial bombardment of bait, you feed the swim tiny amounts throughout the day. Don't put any bloodworms in your initial ground bait balls. Drop 1 or 2 small plain balls to create the scent cloud and get things started. Then once you see signs of fish, or after a certain amount of time, you can introduce a very small number of bloodworms. I'm talking 4 or 5, not 400 or 500. Just pinch a few between your fingers and drop them down the hole. They will flutter down and likely get eaten almost immediately by any fish in the area. This creates a little flurry of competition and excitement and refocuses them on looking for more. This little and often approach keeps the fish in your swim and keeps them looking. But because you are only introducing a tiny amount of food, they never become full or satisfied. They are always on the hunt for the next morsel. This makes them much more likely to aggressively take your hook bait when they see it. You can time these little pinches of bait to boost activity. For example, if you notice the bites have slowed down, dropping 5 or 6 bloodworms can be enough to get the school fired up again. You are using the live bloodworms as a trigger, not as a carpet feed. It's a surgical approach versus the old-school shotgun blast method, and it is infinitely more effective in cold water conditions. Another excellent tool for this controlled approach is a small bait dropper or a specialized winter feeder. This allows you to deliver a small pocket of bloodworms directly to the bottom in a very concentrated area. The key here is, again, the amount. You are not filling the feeder to the brim. You are putting maybe 10 or 15 worms inside. You lower it to the bottom, release the bait, and now you have a very tight little patch of food right next to where your hook bait is going to be. This can be a great way to kickstart a swim or draw fish to a very specific spot. But it should be a one-time event at the start or a very occasional reapplication, not a constant source of food for them. Let's talk about the type of ground bait itself. The composition matters. In winter, you want a very fine, low feed value ground bait. Dark colors are usually best. as they don't spook weary fish. The goal is a mix that breaks up easily and creates a lingering, suspended cloud in the water column. This cloud is what draws fish in visually and through scent. Heavy, sticky, food-rich ground baits are for summer when fish are eating aggressively. Using a heavy summer mix in winter, especially with added bloodworms, is like serving a 7-course Thanksgiving dinner to someone who just wants a light snack. It's too much. It's overwhelming. Go for light, fine and dark mixes to create attraction without satiating the fish. Let me paint you a picture of a real-life experiment you can try yourself. Next time you're on the ice, drill 2 holes about 10 feet apart. In hole number 1, do it the old-school way. Mix a generous handful of live bloodworms into your ground bait and drop in a decent-sized ball. In hole number 2, use the exact same ground bait mix, but with 0 live bloodworms in it. Instead, just use the bloodworm juice or mash a few up for scent. Then fish both holes for a couple of hours, switching back and forth. You will be absolutely stunned by the results. The hole with the ghost feed will almost certainly produce more bites and more confident bites than the one that is loaded with free food. The fish in hole number 1 will be distracted. They'll be pecking at the bottom, trying to dig up the worms they can smell. Your float will tremble, you'll get fake bites, and you'll experience a lot of frustration. The fish in hole number 2, however, will be drawn in by the same scent, but when they arrive, the only tangible food source available will be your hook bait. They have nothing else to distract them. Their focus will be 100% on that single, easy-to-find meal. The bites will be more decisive. When the float goes down, it will be a fish that is fully committed. It is a simple, on-the-ice demonstration that proves the theory beyond any doubt. You're not just fishing, you're controlling the fish's attention. So, to put it all together, the tradition of loading up winter ground bait with live bloodworms is based on a flawed understanding of both fish biology and bait dynamics. It creates a scenario where you attract fish only to immediately frustrate them and distract them from your hook. You are creating your own worst competition by providing a massive food signal attached to an inaccessible food source. The solution is to separate the attraction from the feed. Use the powerful scent of bloodworms in your ground bait to draw fish in, but deliver the actual food only through your hook or in very small, controlled portions to stimulate competition. This simple shift in strategy will fundamentally change your results on the ice. So, the big takeaway is this: adding a huge amount of live bloodworms directly into your winter ground bait isn't just inefficient, it can actively work against you. It creates a buffet that instantly disappears into the lake bed, leaving fish frustrated, confused, and completely ignoring your hook. You are creating a massive, invisible field of competition for your own bait. The most shocking part, the real plot twist here, is that the very thing we all believed was the ultimate attractor is actually the ultimate distraction. The secret to winter fishing success isn't giving the fish more food. It's about making your one piece of food, the one on your hook, the most important, obvious, and easiest meal for that fish to find. This simple change in thinking, from feeding to attracting, can completely transform your winter fishing from frustratingly slow days to consistent, rewarding action. Thank you so much for watching. If this blew your mind or made you rethink your entire winter strategy, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more tips that challenge the old ways. Now for the big question, and I really want to see a debate down in the comments. After hearing all this, will you change how you use bloodworms this winter? Or are you sticking to the old school method that you've used for years? Let me know why. See you on the ice.